Okay, I want everyone listening to try a little visualization with me. You don't have to actually do it, especially if you're like driving or something. But picture this. You're standing flat on the floor.
Okay.
Your goal is to jump as high as you can. Simple. But here's the catch. You can't bend your knees.
Oh.
Not at all.
Which is, just from a biomechanics standpoint, a nightmare. You have no leverage, you're just all calves?
Exactly. It's stiff, it's awkward, you feel ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now imagine doing that jump while holding on to a specific memory.
Okay.
The source material we're looking at today kicks off with this exact experiment. Group 1, they had to do this stiff-legged jump while thinking about a grudge.
A time they couldn't forgive someone.
Right. Deep resentment.
Yeah.
Then you had group 2, same jump, same no-knee rule, but they had to think about a time they did forgive someone.
That moment of letting go.
And the data point here, it's honestly floored me. I read it twice. The grudge group averaged a jump of 22 centimeters.
Yeah.
The forgiveness group, 30 centimeters.
That is a massive difference. I mean, we're talking about almost a 30% increase in just physical performance.
And nothing else changed. The only variable was what was going on in their head.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the core of today's deep dive.
Let's do it.
We're unpacking a source called The Gravity of Forgiveness, the Science of Ramadan, and that experiment's conclusion is blunt. Holding a grudge literally, physically weighs you down.
It's fascinating, isn't it? We use these phrases all the time, a heavy heart, a weight on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But this suggests it's not a metaphor. Your body is actually reacting to resentment as if it's real gravity. The tension, the cortisol, it's like a lead vest.
So today we're going on a journey. I know for a lot of our listeners, maybe scrolling on LinkedIn, you see Ramadan and you think, okay, fasting.
No food, no water, sunrise to sunset.
Which is true. That's a mechanism. But our source argues that if you stop there, you're missing like the entire point.
You're missing the why.
Exactly. So our mission today is to look at the science behind it all, not from a theological view, but from a human performance lens. We're talking willpower, empathy, and this idea of the gravity of forgiveness.
And I think for any professional listening, anyone interested in self-mastery, this is a goldmine. You strip away the ritual for a second, and the underlying logic is just a masterclass in emotional intelligence.
So let's get into it. Segment 1, the willpower workout. The source calls fasting an exercise in willpower and restraint. But I want to play devil's advocate here for a second. Is it really willpower, or is it just suffering? I mean, I skip lunch when I'm busy. That doesn't make me a better person.
That's a really valid point. And the source makes a distinction between starving and fasting. Fasting is intentional. It's an active choice. It's engaging what psychologists call inhibitory control.
Inhibitory control. Break that down for us.
It's your brain's braking system. It's housed in your prefrontal cortex, and it's your ability to stop an automatic, impulsive response.
Like, I'm hungry, eat that cookie.
Precisely. And the argument from the source is pretty profound. The drive for food and water is our most primal biological instinct. It's the lizard brain screaming at you.
It's the loudest voice in the room.
It is. So if you can consciously, deliberately say no to that, you're essentially taking your prefrontal cortex to the gym. You are strengthening the part of you that can say no to your ego.
I really like that framing because we live in an economy that is built to destroy that braking system.
Oh, absolutely. It's the age of friction-free gratification.
Right. I want something, it's on my porch in an hour. I'm bored, an algorithm feeds me entertainment. We are terrible at saying no to ourselves.
And this source suggests that fasting is a kind of counter-training, resistance training for your character. Think about it from a leadership perspective. How many mistakes happen because someone couldn't inhibit an impulse?
Oh, tons. Sending that angry email too fast. Cutting a corner on a project because you're tired.
Exactly. That's your willpower battery running out. The source argues that by mastering this huge physical need, you prove to yourself that you're in the driver's seat. It translates. If you can control your hunger, you can probably control your temper.
So it's about building a sort of psychological callus. You become less fragile when other temptations show up.
Precisely. It's the difference between being reactive and proactive.
Okay, so that's the internal work. You're building this willpower, but the source says it's not just about you. It changes how you see other people.
Right.
Which brings us to segment 2, empathy as a universal equalizer.
This is where the social psychology gets really interesting. It frames that physical feeling of hunger as a tool for connection.
But again, I have to ask, does it really work like that? I've been hangry before. Skipping a meal usually just makes me irritable, not empathetic.
The hangry response is real for sure, but the source is talking about a sustained collective experience.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between sympathy and empathy.
Sympathy is I feel bad for you.
Right. It's cognitive. It's an idea. You can read a report on poverty and think, oh, that's terrible. But you're at a distance. Empathy is feeling with someone.
And you can't get that from a PowerPoint slide.
No. The source argues that hunger is the great equalizer. It feels the same whether you're a CEO or you're homeless. Your biology screams just as loud.
So it kind of collapses the social hierarchy for a moment.
Completely. It moves poverty from being an abstract concept to a physical sensation in your own gut. And that sensation, the source says, becomes motivation. You go from I should help to I need to help.
And this is where we get to the wow moment in the source notes for me. The sheer scale of this blew my mind.
You're talking about the end of Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr.
Yes. The source explains that on that day, every single Muslim has a requirement to provide a meal for the poor. It's called zakat al-Fitr.
And it's not optional. It's not a nice to have. It's a core requirement.
So let's just do the math. The source estimates about 1.5 billion Muslims.
Okay.
That means in a single 24-hour period, 1.5 billion meals are given to the poor.
Just sit with that number, 1.5 billion.
Think of the logistics. If you tried to do that with a UN program or a government initiative, it would take years of planning. There'd be so much overhead.
But here, it just happens. It's decentralized. It's a peer-to-peer global movement of empathy. But it doesn't happen by magic.
Right, connect the dots for us.
It starts with personal restraint, the fasting. That builds the willpower we talked about.
Right.
That restraint creates the physical sensation of hunger, which builds genuine empathy. And that empathy is the trigger for this massive, tangible act of charity.
It's a system. It's not just be a good person. It's do this hard thing, and you will understand why you need to be a good person.
Which is a powerful lesson for anyone in management. Empathy isn't just a mood. It's often a byproduct of a shared experience, even a difficult one.
So we have the discipline, we have the charity, but now we have to circle back to the title. The gravity of forgiveness. The source calls Ramadan the month of forgiveness.
And this, I think, is where the work gets much, much harder than just not eating or writing a check.
Oh, definitely. So the source talks about a kind of deal that's on the table.
It does. The premise is that during this month, God forgives more people than in the rest of the year combined. The doors are wide open.
But there's a catch.
There's always fine print. The source frames it as a reciprocal expectation. If you want God to forgive you, God expects you to forgive other people.
Which sounds fair, right? Forgive and be forgiven. But in practice, it feels almost, I don't know, irrational sometimes. If someone really wronged me, why should I be the one to let it go? Isn't that just being weak?
That is the #1 objection to forgiveness, that it's letting the other person win. But the source completely flips that. It defines forgiveness not as weakness, but as an act of courage and sacrifice.
Courage, how so?
Because it requires you to override your ego's demand for justice, for revenge. It's that inhibitory control again. Your lizard brain wants to settle the score. To consciously say, no, I'm letting this go, takes immense strength.
And the source is very specific about who we need to forgive. It's not the stranger who cut you off in traffic.
No, it gets uncomfortable. It lists spouses, siblings, parents, close friends.
For the people who have misunderstood or wronged us.
The deep cuts, the ones that really hurt.
And this brings us right back to our jumping experiment. The source calls these grudges a heavy burden. And it's not just a poetic phrase.
Not at all. Think about the mental energy a grudge takes. You're replaying arguments in your mind. You're tense. You're releasing stress hormones. It weighs you down physically, spiritually, psychologically.
It's like leaving 50 tabs open on your computer. Just slows everything else down.
Perfect analogy. It eats up your RAM. You're trying to lead a meeting or be present with your kids, but 30% of your processing power is tied up in this old hurt.
So this deal is essentially saying, you can't ask for a system reboot if you're not willing to close those tabs yourself.
It's asking for a kind of humility. We all want grace for our own mistakes, but we often demand justice for the mistakes of others. The source asks us to align those two things.
Which brings us to our final segment, the science of letting go. So, why should we do it? Especially if the other person doesn't deserve it.
And that is the absolute core of it. We think forgiveness is a gift we give to the other person.
Right. I forgive you so you can feel better. And if they were a jerk, I don't want them to feel better.
Exactly. But the source is adamant. The first person who benefits from forgiveness is you.
You.
You, not the person who wronged you. When you forgive, you feel lighter.
We're back to the 30 centimeters on the vertical jump.
Or right back there. That person holding the grudge wasn't held down by anything external. They were held down by their own internal state.
By letting go, you are literally removing a performance inhibitor from your own life.
So it's almost selfish in the best possible way.
You could absolutely frame it that way. It's an act of self-preservation.
Yeah.
You can't reach your potential if you're willingly wearing a lead vest.
When you forgive others, you will feel lighter. It's a double win. You get lighter, and according to the source, you also get forgiven. It ties it all together. The willpower creates mental capacity. The empathy creates social capacity. And the forgiveness restores your emotional capacity. It's all about making you a lighter, more resilient human.
It really is a complete system for, like, human optimization when you look at it that way.
Absolutely. It's a reset button.
So let's bring this in for a landing. To recap for everyone listening, we started with an experiment that showed grudges have actual physical weight.
Then we looked at the willpower workout of fasting and how saying no to your body strengthens your ability to say no to your ego.
We talked about the incredible scale of empathy, 1.5 billion meals, sparked not by a memo, but by a shared physical feeling.
And we ended on the reciprocity of forgiveness. The idea that to jump higher, you have to choose to drop the baggage.
So for our listeners who aren't fasting, who are just trying to get through a tough quarter at work, why does any of this matter?
Because the mechanics are universal. We all carry weight. We all struggle with impulse control. The blueprint here is that discipline builds resilience, shared experience builds empathy, and forgiveness restores your own capacity. You don't need to share the faith to apply the physics.
Forgiveness restores capacity. That's the one to write down.
It really is.
I want to leave everyone with one final thought, something to chew on based on that jumping experiment.
Let's hear it.
The data showed that a grudge cut a person's vertical jump by nearly 30%.
Oh.
That's a staggering performance hit. So the question for you is this. What heights in your career, in your relationships, in your life are you missing out on simply because you refuse to put down the mental weight you were carrying?
That is the question.
If you could jump 30% higher just by letting it go, would you?
Something to think about.
Thanks for diving in with us today.
Until next time.